So without further ado, I want to introduce our panelists for today. We're in for a real treat. Dr. Lynne Patten is an associate professor of management in the School of Business at Clark Atlanta University. And she is an alumna of Clark Atlanta University. She earned both her master's and bachelor's degree in business administration from Clark Atlanta and her PhD in public administration from Arizona State University. Her experience with Fortune 500 companies includes being a sales representative for the Pillsbury Company, an assistant brand manager for Procter & Gamble, and a sales planning manager for the Dial Corporation. So she worked in corporate for more than 8 years. And fortunately for us, she came back to the AUC and joined Clark Atlanta as an active faculty member there. And she was also an instructor, a research lead for a group this past summer in our PreFreshman Summer Experience program that focused on cyber and how to keep communities safe through data. And that was funded by SAP. So we're super excited to have her. Our second panelist is Dr. William Robinson. He's a deputy director at the Research for Information and Cyber Sciences Director at right up the way at Georgia Tech Research Institute. So the Georgia Tech Research Institute, also known as GTRI, as this director, he leads the Information and Communications Laboratory and the Cybersecurity Information Protection Hardware Evaluation Research, CIFR, right? Everything has an acronym. I love it. And manages research portfolios that spans GTRI. Before joining GTRI, he served as a professor of electrical engineering and the vice provost for academic advancement at Vanderbilt University. There he led a security and fault tolerance research group whose mission was to design, model, verify, and implement robust computing systems that positively benefit stakeholders with consumer, defense, industrial, and medical applications. He's also co-led Explorations and Diversifying Engineering Faculty Initiative, and he is a proud Rattler. I think that's it. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, also known as FAMU, master's in electrical engineering and PhD, both in electrical and computer engineering from Georgia Tech. Super excited to have him here today. Our third panelist is Loren Woeber. She's a senior managing consultant with IBM Security Threat Management at IBM. She has over 25 years in the IT cybersecurity space in Fortune 500 companies and creates and executes risk-based security solutions, adapting to business priorities. She also provides strategic directions, enjoys building strong teams, and partners with Big Four consulting firms to execute with excellence. She has experience in security architecture, engineering, security operations, incident response, risk, controls, compliance, and identity and access management. Currently, she's a key contributor in the threat management services domain, leading and supporting a multi-million-dollar pre-sales and delivery engagements for IBM in the Americas region. She's also an advocate, mentor, coach, and champion for STEM and diversity and women in cybersecurity. She's active in the IBM diversity and inclusion resource groups and women in cybersecurity organizations. She earned her bachelor's degree in information resources management from Texas Wesleyan University, and we are super excited to have her here today. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Professor Patten, would you please do the honors and share some of your ideas about what we need to know about data privacy and cybersecurity?
Sorry about that delay. Hello, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you for the invitation to present with this distinguished panel. Obviously, I'm more of a newcomer in this space, and so I'm here to talk a little bit about my experience with that, and then how I can kind of add a little bit of value or some things that I found out working with learning about cybersecurity this summer. So as stated previously, I'm a associate professor of management at Clark Atlanta. I've been there since 2003 and done a lot of research in strategy and case analysis, which includes a lot of data analysis, but I am more of a newcomer to the AUC Data Science Initiative. And so I've had a lot of opportunity to learn about data science from that perspective. And this summer, most recently had an opportunity to learn a lot about cybersecurity. So I'm very fortunate to be here, and I am excited to share with you some of the things I learned this summer with my group. So to talk about this summer a little bit, I was an instructor with the PreFreshman Experience for the AUC Data Science Initiative this summer, and had the privilege of working with a small team of pre-freshmen. And the focus was cybercrime and the impact on our community. So one of the things that I thought was very important is to kind of learn the fundamentals. I'm not an expert in this area. So as a researcher, I always start at the beginning and do the exploratory look at it. And so we kind of came up with two areas of focus. And that was how is cybercrime being tracked, and what are the most prevalent crimes that are impacting our community. So we hear a lot about cybercrime, and it's definitely something that's important that we need to know more about. But I don't always hear the details about what exactly constitutes cybercrime, how much of it is happening, what's the impact. So that's one of the reasons that we just kind of wanted to start with, is there a good place for data? Is there data out there that is generally available to people so that then they can access that data and then understand how it impacts their community? So we did a great project on. One of the things we found was that there is a division of the FBI. It's called the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And it is one of the most informative places to find out about cybercrime on a state level, on a national level. They produce annual reports for every state and federally every year. And I think we've gone back to at least 2012, I believe. And then also one of the more important things is that if you are a victim of cybercrime, obviously you want to report it to the police, but this is also another outlet or an avenue for you to understand what type of crime has happened, and for you to also report that crime. So one of the first things we learned in our project was, where to find the data and what type of data is being tracked. So based off of that, we did dig a little deeper, and I wanted to share with you 2 or 3 more findings from our assessment. Probably why we're having this meeting, it's not news to anybody, that cybercrime is on the rise. So over the last 4 to 5 years, in general, in the United States, we've had a rise in the complaints and also total losses. So in 2017, nationally, there were about 300,000 reported crimes, and that equaled about 1.4 billion in losses for cybercrime. And if you bring that all the way up to 2021, that's almost tripled in terms of reported complaints, up to about 850,000 roughly, and all the way up to about 7 billion in losses. So definitely, as the internet becomes more prevalent and we use it more and it's more incorporated into our daily lives, we have to be more vigilant about cybercrime, because it is absolutely on the rise. Second thing we learned, or third thing, is that the older you are, the more likely you are to be impacted by cybercrime. So this is for 2021. And so if you're under 20 or under 30, you're more likely to file a complaint and experience a loss. Whereas if you are 59, 60, or older, you may be more heavily impacted by cybercrime. And those, right in 2021, the reported incidents or complaints among people who were 60 or older were about 90,000, and that equaled about 1.7 billion and losses. So there's quite a bit of cybercrime going on out there. So we have to be extra vigilant, especially when it comes to supporting people in our community that may be older, 50, 60 or older. And finally, the top states that are being impacted in terms of number of victims for cybercrime in 2021 were New Jersey to Pennsylvania. California, of course, is probably the largest because it's one of the larger states. But one of the big things, or one of the big pictures that you can take away from this slide, is that it's not isolated to maybe one part of the country. We've got the East Coast with New Jersey and New York, as far as in Pennsylvania, and then we've got the Midwest of Ohio and Illinois, all the way out to, you know, California and Texas, and the South, of course, is covered with Florida. So if we went down further, even to the top 20 states, there would be more victims in the South. But this key learning here is to kind of represent that cybercrime is a problem in all of the states and all of the areas that we have in the United States. So it's something that we need to make sure that we try to stay on top of. And so that's all I have for right now. I'm not sure if I'm clear with my 10 minutes, but overall, I just wanted to kind of introduce the idea or the learning about the Internet Crime Complaint Center. Please feel free to go out and visit this resource and learn about what's happening in your state and the top crimes in your state, so that you can be more aware of how cybercrime is impacting your community, and so that maybe you can support people or be more vigilant. But one of the key things I just wanted folks to take away from here is that there is a resource where you can just go to that website, look at data, and understand how cybercrime is impacting your community. So once again, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I appreciate once again being here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for engaging students in that research project too. Really informative. Thanks. Our next speaker is Dr. William Robinson.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for this honor. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we need to know. I know the title is What You Need to Know, but I certainly want to put myself in this group as well. Thank you to the other distinguished panelists as well. I am William H. Robinson. I have the privilege of serving as the Deputy Director for Research of the Information and Cyber Sciences Directorate at GTRI, the Georgia Tech Research Institute. And as previously mentioned, I was at Vanderbilt University for much of my academic career with various roles. But that's perhaps the current part of the story, but I always think about the origin of the story, how I got into the field of engineering, and certainly in this field of science as well. So somewhere in there, I was a really young kid and had much more hair than I do right now, but I had really great role models and mentors who were able to share with me the possibilities of being in science and engineering, whether it's my parents who were teachers and educators. I had a cousin who went to Georgia Tech, and that's what got me into this field of engineering. And even just having various faculty members and other people simply speak life into me in terms of being able to pursue this field. And so one of the things that I found going into this area is that it was important to have role models and mentors who were able to shed that light and be able to provide a pathway for you. And so I actually did some research when I was at Vanderbilt on the experiences of faculty, particularly for Black faculty who were looking at how to be successful in science and engineering fields. So what we did find, and I'm glad about the effort of the Data Science Center that's at the AUC, but being able to have those role models, being able to intentionally create spaces where people can succeed through mentoring, through education, and through community building. And so that's some of the work that we did with our Explorations in Diversifying Engineering Faculty Initiative. Also, As mentioned in my bio, I did have the opportunity to lead our security and fault tolerance research group. And one of the things I certainly would encourage people to consider are advanced degrees in science and engineering, and particularly in this field. And I love the video that opened up the workshop and the panel session of people who were in school and seeing the needs for it. And so that's certainly a thing that I hope that we'll take away from this, whether it's particular fields that you're in, but we need that talent. We need your talent to be able to succeed in these challenges within cybersecurity. I'll tell you a little bit about GTRI just as far as our organization. So we're a university affiliated research center. We are part of Georgia Tech. We are the applied research unit. We have a fourfold mission where we're affecting the economic impact of the state of Georgia. We are serving in national security topics. We're also trying to improve the human condition and also educate our future technology leaders. One of the things that attracted me to this role is just the breadth of impact that we have, not only in national security, but on people as well. And so I hope that we will be able to have a conversation on some of those topics. In my directorate, I lead a couple labs. So our information and communications laboratory. So we're looking at information science and data science more broadly. But since it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I do want to at least focus a little bit on that particular topic. And so within the CIPHER lab, and CIPHER, appreciate you telling the entire acronym, the CIPHER laboratory has a wide range of topics that we're looking at. And so I hope that one of the takeaways from this is what we need to know is that we have an opportunity, and it certainly is not just the research, it's also policy, it's the human interaction. It's combining all of this all the expertise to solve the technical challenges that we have going forward. Some of the work that we do reaches back from basic research, maybe in quantum computing and sensing, all the way up to building full-scale systems and all the way in between. My own research when I was at Vanderbilt, I did look at hardware security and trust. And so if you think about all the computing topics that we have, all the computing resources that we have to have a root of trust. We have to have some way of knowing that our software is executing on hardware that we trust. And so looking at to make sure that the hardware does only what it's supposed to do and not anything else going forward. Other topics that people are concerned about in terms of how we guard or not guard our personal data. And so we're probably all being tracked because we have our cell phone and whichever provider knows exactly where we are. We have our timelines and all that information, but it's interesting how we guard the information, but then we give it away freely. And so considering your home products, such as a smart refrigerator, how are we connecting things and providing surface areas for attack for us to be vulnerable? But at least I want to focus a little bit today on one particular topic, and it's really cyber physical systems, and down in this box on resilient infrastructure and supply chain. So thinking about our infrastructure, our key infrastructure, our utilities, our power systems and grid, our transportation networks. We're adding autonomous vehicles. With those capabilities, we're allowing the cyber physical systems to be developed and control those processes. We want to be sure that we have the appropriate security within those. And it's a wide range of things where it's controlled by your local utility company, your small electric company. So it's very distributed, and having that expertise at a level, not everyone's going to have a GTRI in their backyard that's doing that. We have to be able to provide security systems and solutions that are scalable and distributable to a wide range of opportunities. When you're thinking about our infrastructure grid for transportation, enhancing traffic flow patterns, but also that could be a place for a threat as well. So how do we protect those systems so that we can ensure that we benefit from the electronics, the actual scale that we would have for traffic flow, but then also protect it from being infiltrated or hacked. Other things that we would see in terms of just authentication of the supply chain. We want to make sure that our network devices are actually the ones that we are purchasing and don't have a hidden backdoor for someone to engage in remotely. And so those are some of the key technical challenges that we would see going forward within the research areas. So at least within CIPHER, we're able to do some of that work. We have a group that's doing that research, and we collaborate across the spectrum, at least of our organization. But one thing is that we need talent. We need you. And so I'll also say that we are hiring. We certainly want to make sure that people are encouraged to consider this as a career field, whether it's in academia, whether it's industry or government. But we need that engagement of technical professionals in the field. And so with that, certainly want to lead you with a couple things, at least from my own perspective and experience. So like I said, I entered this field with a chance to be able to lead this group of people in the cybersecurity research. And one of the things that I think about every day is saving lives. Right? You're looking at opportunities where you're being able to provide resources for people. You're able to provide security for people. And I thought the graph from before, the previous speaker of the cyber crimes going forward. I'm also a consultant for my parents, and my parents probably fall into that area of the ones who were perhaps a victim of being spoofed or hacked or something else like that. And so again, I appreciate this opportunity to share with you on some of the topics and issues within cybersecurity, and look forward to the questions of the panel.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of good insights there. Our third panelist is Dr. Loren Woeber. Loren?
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and honored to be among the Dr. Robinson, Dr. Patten. Wow, very impressive backgrounds, very impressive work that you all are doing. It's admirable, and I think it's awesome, and it's all contributing to what we're going to talk about today. So I've got a few things that I wanted to cover, but and not a whole lot of slides and all that. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that, and I'm very excited about this, IBM recently announced our partnership with 20 historically Black colleges and universities to address cybersecurity talent shortage. I think Dr. Robinson touched on that. I'm going to touch on that as well. But we actually are in the process of establishing cybersecurity leadership centers, giving students and faculty access to IBM training software at no cost. It's such an awesome initiative. I just really, when I saw that, I just thought it was awesome. We have the total write-up on our IBM.com newsroom website if you're wanting to go check it out. And this is just, exciting for me personally, because I'm a big champion and advocate when it comes to diversity and inclusion and promoting STEM in schools and women in cybersecurity. So just before I get into the additional more details here, I just wanted to add a little disclaimer. The postings on this side are my own and not necessarily represent IBM's position, strategies, and opinions. So I have to get that legalese stuff out of the way. But anyway, let's just dive right in here. So if you can skip to the next slide. Okay. So what I'd like to do is kind of level set and provide some foundational context. And then we can get into the data science piece, which is a fascinating field. So first, data privacy and cybersecurity, my belief, they are significantly intertwined. However, they are distinct in between the two. So data privacy is dealing with, personal information, personal identifiable information, personal health information. And in this category, you can also include financial information, medical records, social security numbers, government ID numbers in some countries, names, birthdays, contact information. Nearly 100 countries have adopted data protection and privacy laws, and that's growing. And then just the lack of access control regarding personal information can put me at risk for fraud and identity theft. I think I've talked to so many folks who have been through identity theft nightmares, where hackers can steal your information. And actually, I saw recently in the Federal Trade Commission that they published that identity fraud has been on the rise for the past 5 years and increased notably in 2021, 22% higher than 2020. So it's really ramping up. And then so we want to switch a little bit to data security, information security, cybersecurity. You'll hear these terms interchangeably. So it's really broad and comprehensive, and it's a foundation that governs people, process, applications, and users. It covers a wide array of data other than personal data, because it includes the protection of information assets. This includes compute systems. This includes intellectual property. And this includes, a whole array of data within a corporation's management. So there are different specialties of cybersecurity. There are application security, network security, cloud security. There's cybercrime. You can get into that, and there's a lot of forensics involved in that domain. So Dr. Robinson touched on critical infrastructure and supply chain and cyber resilience. Those are also different systems that we have to protect. I have some experience with operational technology systems as well, and they're a different beast. They're not IT. And the folks who run those systems have very different backgrounds than traditional IT folks that manage systems. So there's that aspect as well. So organizations who face a customer data breach can face legal action, business disruption, loss of revenue, and fines. And if you're looking at a data breach at a government level, you're talking about potentially an entire country that's potentially at risk. So where does data science fit in? And, kind of going to the quote here, we're surrounded by data, but starved for insights. And that's really how I look at data science and how it correlates back to privacy and data security or cybersecurity. And I believe that they're symbiotic, especially in today's world. The pace and volume of security incidents, there's not a day that goes by that we don't see some sort of a breach in the headline news. It just has to, the way we're tackling and operationalizing teams to go, look and investigate at cybersecurity incidents, it really has to change. So many organizations and governments, institutions struggle with lack of cybersecurity talent, as you heard. They also struggle with multiple IT and cyber tools that they have to deal with. And these tools produce large sets of data. And these entities struggle with the complex threat landscape that we have today. But what's driving that complexity? It's my belief that with the latest pandemic shift to work from home and back to the office, coupled with the geopolitical changes and global economic shifts, ensues chaos. Companies and corporations, institutions have to deal with that. And where chaos lives, threat actors thrive. So we've seen a ramp up in attacks, especially in ransomware. So that's consistently in the news within IT systems, as well as operational technology that Dr. Robinson mentioned in critical infrastructure. So data science, in my opinion, is understanding the collection of those methods, techniques, statistics, algorithms, data modeling, and others that are noted here on this slide, and using those techniques to analyze large and complex sets of data to provide meaningful, actionable insights. That's what it's all about. That's what we want to get to. And when you couple cybersecurity with a framework like that NIST provides, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, to identify, detect, prevent, respond, and recover, that what we want is to ultimately reduce risk and reduce cyber threats. So in my opinion, it's a perfect match when you couple data science with cybersecurity. The use of those algorithms in machine learning and artificial intelligence are integrated in many cyber tools today and have been proven to be effective, resulting in cybersecurity operations efficiency for analysts that are, looking through the needle in the haystack. really, when you couple the AI and the machine learning piece of it and component of it, it reduces their time and looking at incidents that really do matter, and improves that search time, that investigation time. So another example of where I see a great benefit in, especially with coupling all of this together, is user behavior analytics. These systems and how they work is that they sort of baseline a user in an organization, and then they will alert on unusual behavior patterns. As an example, if you have an employee who comes in, 8 to 5, central time zone, has a company issued device, company issued phone, logs in and into their environment and looks at certain tools and sites, and then all of a sudden this user is now logging in from a foreign country, perhaps during an off hour. This type of behavior would trigger an alert to an analyst. So this analytics, this data modeling about this user can trigger that type of alert. And that's what we're looking for, right? But perhaps this user is visiting a foreign country and is on vacation or is on business, who knows? But in this case, we could instill a second factor authentication, perhaps when they log into the network or log into an internal, company website, perhaps by sending, a code to that cell phone to make sure that we verify the identity of that user. This is just one scenario where user behavior analytics can be leveraged in these tools and techniques and methods that we have, coupled from data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. There are a lot of tools today that have these capabilities, and a lot of organizations are moving to that. They're adopting that and actually in a very rapid growth. And so the bottom line is that we want to have those meaningful insights. We need to have those informed decisions to take action against the threat actors. That's what we're after. So in my opinion, it's a good marriage. It's symbiotic, right? And we need the talent both from the data science side as well as the cyber side. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions and lots of dialogue around this, but I wanted to thank you again, thank the panelists, and thank you to Dr. Washington for inviting me here today. Back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really informative there. And if you haven't participated in the poll, please do so. And while they are closing out the poll, I am going to answer some questions or pitch some questions to our esteemed panelists. So somebody says, hello, panelists. I appreciate your insights and thank you for your time. My name is Destiny, Spelman class of 22. I'm Spelman class of 96. So with the BS in biochem, I recently saw that the new Apple Watch will be able to measure variations in body temperature and even track walking stride lengths. As cybersecurity professionals, do you see any possible negative impacts of this?
Okay, I guess I'll go. It's a balance, right? I mean, I think that garnering a lot of that type of data is a good thing for that provides a lot of benefit, but it also you need to balance that and really understand that data, how it's going to be used and leveraged, in my opinion. So need to be asking questions like, how is this data going to be stored, how long, who's using it, et cetera. So I think that's the way I would address that.
I would just echo that sentiment, like similar to Dr. Woeber's, I apologize if I said it wrong, comments. That data is around us. It's not necessarily something that you can wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm gonna avoid all data and I'm gonna avoid inputting into systems. It's not necessarily that easy. So, the approach of trying to understand where your data is, how it's being used, how it's being housed. If you have an Apple Watch, is it being uploaded to the cloud? Is it two-factor authentication? Like, what type of thought process, is going in behind the security aspect of it? Because most likely we're going to be inputting into these systems on a regular basis, just the function and how society moves forward. But to be thoughtful about that, to be well informed about that, is probably going to be one of your best approaches into managing what systems work for you and what systems you want to really try to work to avoid.
And I'll just follow on probably the same ideas, but I tried to mention a little bit in my talk that we value our personal data sometimes, and sometimes we give it away really, really easily. And so there is some utility. If you really wanted to have that information, maybe it's health, medical reasons, and having that utility, that's a great thing. But if we're not aware of how those data are being collected, that's the challenge that we would have, whether it is buying the latest smart devices and just having them around and they have access to us, or and sometimes it's great when Google Maps is predicting, oh, you want to go here, wonderful, I did want to go there. But then at one point it's kind of scary to say, oh, that at this time of day, at this location, I'm going here next. And so you think about how they're using those data. That's the part where you want to be sure that you're able to protect it as best as you can, but understand when you give that access and the utility function that you're getting back from it, are you comfortable with that trade-off?
Wonderful, thank you. And I see that the poll, and she thanks you too. The poll just closed, so I'm going to just take a moment to just do a quick readout of our poll results from our attendees today. We have 27% or 6 are currently enrolled students, and 73%, 16, who responded. Not everybody responded, but it's all good. Graduated working professional. We have juniors, seniors, masters, PhD students, and a good number, 68% not currently enrolled. Our gender balance, we have about 45% identifying as female and 55% identifying as male. And about 59% or 13 live in Georgia, and 36% are not in Georgia. And we also have some international folks. So if you want to put where you're from in the chat, you're welcome to do that. So welcome everyone. And so one of the questions was, what is the top tip you would give someone to protect their personal information? So the top tip, the choices were: stop giving away your personal information, use a typewriter instead of the internet. I'm not sure people know what a typewriter is anymore, right? Check your mobile app permissions and review your security and privacy settings. Don't share your Wi-Fi with friends when they visit. Loren, which one was it? Do you remember? Review your security and privacy settings. Most people chose that. So y'all are awesome. Y'all are on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get off of mute. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Stop giving away to Dr. Robinson. Do you ever go to, buy your pair of jeans, or at the Gap store, at the mall? Oh, can I get your email address? Can I get no, you don't need my email address. You're just going to get more phishing stuff. So don't give it away. Be conscious about who's asking you for that data.
So true. I know it was the top data breach in 2022, single choice. Was it Facebook.com? Was it the Red Cross? Crypto.com? New Corp? Nobody checked New Corp. And the survey says it was crypto was the biggest this year. So if you chose crypto, you're there. I don't know why everybody tried to choose Facebook.
Another tip to follow up, what I often do is I have like a dummy email address. So I have one that is like more closely connected to things that I know are real and where it's coming from. And then I have a dummy email address, and I also have a dummy telephone number. So, they can research and do anything they want with those things. They're going nowhere. So just be very mindful. So when you go to the store, they do ask you for this information all the time, right? It's like you can't go anywhere and they're going to ask you for your number or your email address or whatever. I just have a set of data or a set, of contact information that is completely not connected to me. So I try to have more control and be thoughtful about that, but it does take greater effort and keeping up to date with software tools. Like Dr. Robertson said, there's some great benefits out there for some of these tools out there, but you need to think about it and make sure you understand how to use them, understand your permissions, and just understand that every time you go online, most likely you're being tracked. So try to be mindful of all of those things.
So true. Words of wisdom. And somebody asked, what certifications are recommended for students who would like to get a thorough knowledge of data security that pairs well with health informatics?
So the certification that I believe is well known and mostly accepted is the CISSP. It's the iscsquare.org organization that covers a breadth of different domain areas. It won't get into the health management piece of it or the medical side, but it covers all areas, including business continuity, disaster recovery, and all of that. So all aspects of cybersecurity.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And actually on that, I just want to add, so within my directorate, we actually do have a division that looks at essentially health informatics and in that field. And we recently hired a new person who will start as a division chief scientist, and that person's role will actually split across not only GTRI, but also our Department of Public Health here. And so that's one of the things that we were looking for, was someone who had that expertise, not only from the cybersecurity, data privacy side, but also from the health side as well. So even in that sense, maybe coupling with like a master's of, it's not just a certification, but an MPH is also an avenue to try to blend that in terms of the informatics field.
Great. So someone asked, what advice can you give students and also faculty who are not majoring or their main expertise is not cybersecurity, but want to pivot into cybersecurity and they don't have technical experience? So how does one get in?
Well, I'll jump in from AUC side, and then you guys can take outside of maybe AUC for that perspective. But I think the AUC Data Science Initiative is a great avenue. Like I said, in part of my introduction, I've been looking at data for a very long time, more than 20 years. So it's not necessarily the data that's kind of new, it's understanding the new techniques, the new ways of using it, the new avenues, how you can apply that to, what we're talking about here, from critical infrastructures into, pardon me, applying, how cybersecurity can be used, can be commingled with data science. And so this past summer, you can attest, Dr. Washington, I took literally every training class that they had available. Just to stay curious, just to stay up to date, from Tableau to, some a cybersecurity seminar. So, take advantage of the opportunities that are in the Data Science Initiative, here within the Atlanta University Center. There's a lot of opportunity to learn, even if you're not with that major. But also, I think that there are classes that are now that you can take if you're a student in the Atlanta University Center that you can cross-register for. So you don't have to have or have a concentration in data science or cybersecurity. But there are a lot of avenues for you to gain interest and join a club and just train. I would just say, keep pretty close to the Data Science Initiative. So thank you, Dr. Washington.
Thank you. Yes.
That was a great plug, because my answer is going to be more general in terms of looking for boot camp type opportunities, but I'm glad to hear that's all available in the Data Science Initiative. Certainly, there are also just communities, right? So, if there are different clubs that are active, finding other students or the professionals who are active in that topic area, I think that's another way of being involved. Certainly there could be some professional societies within the area that locally that you could join and be more involved in the cybersecurity world. And also it's less about just having the traditional degree in computer science, right? Just considering that it is a broader field. So it's not only just the technical challenges, but there's policy, there is the behavioral aspect. So you don't have to necessarily just be a computer scientist to be involved in cybersecurity in that way. So I was definitely glad that you mentioned that as well, as far as a transition within the data science initiative.
Thank you.
And I'll just echo all that. That's spot on, because there's so many avenues and so many domains of cybersecurity that you can get into. And I would encourage you to network some more, get to know, folks in these organizations. There's the ISC squared that I mentioned from a more of a risk and compliance perspective. There's the ISACA organization. You can learn about how to audit, systems and, what auditors look for in cybersecurity and in IT systems, et cetera. So there's that aspect of it. There's other organizations like the ISSA organization that has local chapters in probably every city, and they have webinars, they have speakers come in, like, get involved. That's what I would encourage you to do and learn about those different topics, because you may find a niche or an avenue that, hey, you can get involved in and really put some effort into, maybe, get added to a chapter project, or, get involved in something that interests you and kind of see where that leads you. That's what I would recommend.
Great. Someone said, thanks for all the information. And someone asks, what are the applications of machine learning in data sciences and cybersecurity? I mean, I don't know how much time y'all have, but I don't know if you give a taste of machine learning in cyber.
Is that another workshop, another panel?
I think so. I think
probably another panel. So one of the things I'll start off, and others can certainly jump in. So one of the things that we're looking at is, if you're doing AI, machine learning, and the trusted aspects of it, then what are you turning over to that decision making? How are you training those data, your data sets and your systems on it? And so how do you ensure that, even in machine learning, that it's bounded in some way, right? You're looking at making sure that as it evolves, it still evolves in a way that you're able to say it's still within some parameters of safety. If that's a machine learning in a life critical system, probably like as far as like autonomous vehicles, or if it's machine learning and other systems, you have to decide where is it appropriate for. And that's some of the research that we're looking at. Most interestingly, they just had a meeting here, DARPA the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They had an event that was at Georgia Tech, and one of their initiatives that they're launching is what they're calling AI Forward, to try to look at those topics of AI and machine learning on systems and how it's trusted, how we're evolving with it. So again, it's probably a whole other workshop that you would want to do on that, but that's certainly a concern that certainly we have here at GTRI, and others are doing research as well on how you have a trusted AI going forward, whether it's the theory of it, whether it's applied in different systems that you will see.
Right. Yeah. I'm feeling workshop season next summer. Great. Yeah. Someone asked, what are some common workflows that you see in cybersecurity?
Okay, so I can take that a couple of different ways. So a common workflow, I assume that meaning like a use case, or something that I explained earlier, like user behavior analytics and that kind of use case, where you're baselining a user's activity and then tracking anomalous, unusual behavior, perhaps. That could be a workflow. I'm not certain if that's kind of what that person was looking for, but that would be one way that I could describe it and provide some use cases. There are certainly others out there, not just under a user behavior analytics, but there's also systems that companies have that are detection prevention mechanisms at the network layer. Those are common workflows that get implemented as well. So there's a kind of an array of things that we can get into on that.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit from a business perspective. One of the things that we try to emphasize to students all the time is, a workflow. Maybe what she's talking about is absolutely every time you log into Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook, all of that begins a process of every time you click on something in that application, it triggers a profile, it triggers a direction, it triggers an algorithm. And one of the problems that we talk a lot about is that these algorithms are very powerful, and they are able to kind of be more predictive and predict what you may like, what you may not like, what you may want to do, what you may not want to do. And the issue is that then it then feeds it back to you. And so then you're more likely to subscribe or get more information based on your own preferences, and not really taking a lot of new information. So I think, one thing that we can try very hard to do is just understand that, one of the questions that came up in the chat is who's watching? That is an excellent question, because every time you log on to Google, every time you log on to another website, you're triggering, as you would say, a workflow or, a tracking method for somebody to kind of know more about you, and then use that data to maybe target you from a marketing perspective, or target you from a lack of security, or target you for other perspectives. So, just as a lay person, just understand every time we click, we are creating an opportunity for tracking and to figure out, because it's a really great question, right? Who's watching? You may start off by one website watching, and within days that data is collected and sold to other websites. And so there's this nature that we have to be more aware of, that we are part of that workflow. We generate a lot of that data. And so we just have to kind of, as I said before, as just a lay person, as somebody that is just being mindful of how we move on the internet, and how we move at stores and all of these other things. But hopefully that helps a little bit, that I guess the point is that it's not arbitrary, right? It's not so much that they have to come get all this data from us. It's a lot of times we're actively participating in this data generation about ourselves. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
That does. Somebody said awesome information. And somebody asked, there are companies who say they can protect your identity online. What can you tell us about these companies? Well, and also, how do you know that a company is protecting your identity, and what should we be looking out for?
So I'll answer that. So my recommendation would be to look at their privacy and security, settings. When you visit their website, how it pops up and it says, cookies, accept all cookies. Well, you need to read what it's doing. Go to the website privacy settings, really review it. And I would also recommend your phone. Your phone has all these apps. Look at the privacy settings. Look at the tracking mechanisms. Look, make sure Siri's not listening to you. So, but that's what I would suggest is really review those security and privacy settings of that company, and understand what you are giving up and why they're collecting that information.
And your phone is always listening.
When you have two phones, is it double listen? Is that? Somebody asked, student, fantastic student, if I might add, what does a typical day as someone who works in cybersecurity look like? So what is a day in the life of a cybersecurity person? What does that look like?
Okay, so it depends. It depends on what your role is. So if you're a consultant like I am, I work with clients day in, day out, talking to clients to understand their requirements, their problems we're trying to solve, et cetera. But if you're like an application penetration tester, as an example, what that means is that you try with agreement from the client, try to break into their applications. It might be an externally facing website, or it might be a supply chain system, or it might be, a critical infrastructure system. So it just depends on what role you're in cybersecurity. If you're more of a policy and risk person, you're going to be updating policies. You're going to be, keeping abreast of, changes in regulations and regulatory compliance, like, HIPAA and PCI and all of that good stuff. So it just kind of depends on what role you have in cybersecurity. There's different areas you can get into. So hope that helps.
Sounds like there's a little bit of something for everyone. Yes. And I echo, someone asked me to stop our phone from always listening. I usually go throw it in the sea, and not have it, get a rotary dial phone, right? Or something. It's easy. But I echo one of our viewers here, just really great information. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your time and talents. Now that we know that everybody's tracking, we just need to be more diligent and more aware about our data privacy and how that impacts our everyday lives. And sometimes we're just kind of like, at least for me, I'm like, okay, I just go in understanding with a better understanding of the risks. So I really have enjoyed having you all hang out with us here at the AUC Data Science Initiative, our seminar series. And really are thankful for you all taking the time to share your work and your knowledge and expertise with the folks online. And this is hosted on Facebook. So the video is there on Facebook now, and soon it will be posted on our YouTube channel. We hope to see everybody in a few weeks on November 11th. Dr. Stefan Alexander, who's a physicist, jazz musician, and does a lot of data stuff, will be joining us. So I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and thanks again to my amazing panelists. You all keep us safe.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes.
Thanks so much. It's been wonderful.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.